Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of the Cold Bananas Show. I'm John Hanson,
I'm Michael Ollinger.
and for our first episode, we're going to look at some notable March movie releases, and we're going to start with probably the worst one, A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh yeah, we're starting at the bottom of the barrel here. I loved this book when I was a kid. It was required reading, but it was required reading I didn't mind doing. So, and Ava DuVernay did a great job with Selma, and she got Oprah to come and act again. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot going for this movie. And then I went, and it was utterly ridiculous and just silly. This is an all-time level bomb. Like, this is absolutely just sort of unforgivably terrible, all over the map, wildly uneven, unfocused. Some of the scenes are just laughable. They have a scene where Reese Witherspoon turns into like a leaf monster version of Falkor and flies around a gigantic Oprah who's like looking benevolently, filmed on green screen. That had me laughing harder than any comedy this year. I would say the Death Wish remake has set the bar for bad movies this year. That has a 0 banana rating. I'll tick this one up a half banana above that. Half a banana for Wrinkle in Time.
Okay, and shifting gears now to a teen romance, but this is not your typical teen romance. There's something a little different about it. Love, Simon.
Yeah, Love, Simon is it is very typical. It is every bit the same as Fault in Our Stars or a billion Nicholas Sparks adaptations, with the exception that the lead is gay and it's an LGBT themed teen romantic comedy drama, and it works, but it's nothing special, which counterintuitively makes it special, because like growing up as an LGBT person myself, every movie out there was either a ridiculously stereotypical broad comedy or vitally important, and there was no movie that you could just go see with your friends on a Friday night if you were an LGBT teen. And this movie is that, and it serves a really, really solid function in being that. It's not great, but it's serviceable. I would say it's a really solid 3 banana film.
Okay, groundbreaking by its very averageness, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Speaking of average movies, the first 2 Lara Croft pictures weren't anything special, but they're trying to reboot it with Tomb Raider, an aptly titled picture.
And this one is very, very much an average film, which makes it pretty good for a video game movie, and miles better than the Angelina Jolie films. Alicia Vikander plays Lara Croft in this. She's an Academy Award winner. She doesn't condescend to the material. She actually has fun with it. She's surrounded by a cast that really does their best to make it fun. It reminded me of the 1999 Brendan Fraser Mummy. It has a few nifty twists and turns toward the end. So I mean, I can't hate it. I enjoyed it. It's a legitimately enjoyable movie if you turn your brain off. And a few years from now, if you see it on at 2 a.m. on USA, go ahead and watch it, because I think that's what it was ultimately made for, was that. So I'd say 3 bananas. I'd give 3 bananas.
Okay. Sticking with action pictures, and this is another franchise film, Pacific Rim Uprising.
Yeah, this one has the misfortune of following on a film by Guillermo del Toro. And Guillermo del Toro is a man of singular vision who, even with the first one, which was basically just an excuse for him to have giant monsters being punched by giant robots, his unique sensibilities sort of shined through. And those sensibilities are kind of here in this one, but they're not quite at the same level. It's a fun movie. It's a lot lighter in tone than the first one. It gets rid of Charlie Hunnam, which is always good, because he is the color beige taken corporeal form. Like, he is the most boring performer, I think, ever. And so it's good to get rid of him. Less Charlie Hunnam is always a good thing. And so, I mean, at the same time, though, it's really not anything special. I don't consider it to be bad, but it's not great. I had fun watching it and then kind of forgot that I saw it like a couple hours later. So I will say I've been waffling between 2.5 and 3 bananas. I'm gonna go 2.5 bananas on Pacific Rim Uprising.
Okay. Sticking with the gaming world, in a way, we seem to have saved the best for last year, I think. Ready Player One.
Yeah, this was a movie that I found the trailer very boring. I went in expecting nothing, and it blew me away. This is like a return to 80s and 90s fun Steven Spielberg. Like stuff like the early entries in the Indiana Jones trilogy, E.T., Jurassic Park. It captures that same sense of magic, which is just unbelievable that he was able to do that. And it has a really cool theme. It deals with why people would escape into a virtual world like the people do in this movie. It also talks about why it might be a good idea to pull back from that sometimes, but it's not hectoring towards people that like to spend their time playing games. It understands why they do. It just says there's maybe a balance that should be struck. So the fact that there's like a nuanced message underlying all of this excitement and fun and all of the pop culture references, which is weird because the movie is loaded with references to movies from the 80s and 90s and even like stuff from like the 2000s. Like they have a reference to Firefly in this. They have you can see the time machine from Back to the Future getting like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park tries to eat the time machine from Back to the Future. Well, a billboard advertising Jack Slater from Last Action Hero is in the background. Like, this is just, it's loaded, like, every scene, wall to wall with pop culture references. So the fact that it, like, wallows in nostalgia, it somehow still feels fresh and new is, like, an amazing balancing act. And were it not for the fact that I know the Academy will pay no respect to his performance because it's in a sci-fi fantasy film, I would love to see Mark Rylance get nominated for an Academy Award for his work. In this movie, he plays the inventor of the Oasis, and it's sort of this tragicomic character, and just such emotional depth, such range, and like he's sort of I haven't seen him mentioned in many reviews. He's the unsung hero of this movie.
And what rating would you give it?
I would say this is a 5 banana rating for this one. I've given that out 3 times this year so far. Black Panther, this, and Annihilation, which are my 1, 2, and 3 movies of this year so far. And yeah, so
It doesn't get much better than 5 bananas. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us for our first episode of the Cold Bananas Show. Next time we're going to take a look at some of the top movies of April that you should check out. Thanks.
See you then.